All right, everyone. Hello. Today is day number 8, and we will be talking about cluster C today. Today's number 8, and we are talking about cluster C. Let's just make sure that we're all together here. So please make sure that you invite your friends, join me today. And let's see, make sure that you let's make that public. Excuse me. All right. Looks like we're set. Hello, everyone. Day number 8. Day number 8 of personality disorders. Day number 8, personality disorders. I'm not sure where this cough is coming from. But day number 8 for personality disorders, right? We have gone through so many of them. We've gone through seven at this point. We were able to, we've gone to cluster A, cluster B. If you don't know what those are, click on any of our videos and for the past 7 days, and you can click on any one that you're interested in. Today we're starting cluster C. Yesterday we finished up on cluster B, which had to do with the last one we talked about yesterday was narcissistic personality disorder. Today we start with the cluster C, the last 3. Now, these people are not the bold and spotlight grabbing, attention grabbing, very flashy, dominant cluster B type. These last group, they live in fear. This is pretty much very anxious. They're anxious people. So if you know, they live in their own anxiety. They question themselves. They second guess every move. They're very unsure. They're worried about saying the wrong things. These are the people who feel abandoned. This is cluster C. This is cluster C. So today we're going to start the journey in cluster C. And for cluster C, we want to take a look at 3 different types of personality types here. The first one is the avoidant personality disorder. And the second one is the dependent personality disorder. And then we'll look at the obsessive compulsive personality. This is not OCD. This is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. This is a personality type that we're going to look at. So that would happen in 2 days. These disorders, they share a very common theme. They are, like I said, they're very fearful. They're very anxious. Anxiety literally shapes their lives. Anxiety shapes their relationships. Anxiety shapes their behaviors. Anxiety shapes their outlook to life. This cluster is quieter than cluster B. This is more subtle than cluster A. The struggle happens inside them. The struggle inside them has been the pattern, has determined the patterns of their life. It's what is the struggle with being seen. They struggle with people knowing who they are. They struggle with not being enough. They struggle with just fear. They struggle with all of this, and they project anxiety. So the first one we're going to look at is the avoidant, which is what we're looking at today, is the avoidant personality type. Avoidant personality type. The avoidant personality type. So we've been using the room metaphor, right? And so we've talked about you enter a room, and in cluster B, they enter a room and they want to own the room, right? But think of this particular cluster as they stand in front of the door and they can't open the door. All right. They can't open that door. They imagine the people are going to judge them. They imagine that they're going to be rejected. They carry fear like a shadow. This particular group will stand at the door and they don't want to walk through it. The doors are locked to them. All right. So we're going to call this avoidant personality the room of locked doors. The room of locked doors. The room of locked doors. So even if, they stand in front of that door, think of a room and there are different doors. So there's a door of friendship. There's a door of romance. There's a door of personal growth. There's a door, there are different doors in that room. The new experiences. The avoidant personality will stand in front of the door and each door will be locked to them because of their fear. Those doors are locked to them. They look at the door, they look at the world through this really debilitating fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of being embarrassed. They fear that they're going to be rejected. They fear that they are inadequate. They fear that they're not enough. They fear that if you really knew them, you wouldn't want to be with them. Is this making sense? So they don't stay inside. They don't remain in the room because they want to disappear. They want to disappear. They don't want to be seen. All right. And even if they stay, it's with trepidations. Yeah, cluster C. This is the cluster that will externalize their fear in a very anxiety-ridden way. Cluster C, avoidant personality disorder. Everything is marked by inhibition. They're socially inhibited. They're relationally inadequate. They're very hypersensitive to negative evaluations. This is a person that's so sensitive to everything you're going to say. If you're careless about them, you will hurt them very deeply. Everything you say is personal to this group. Everything you say is personal. They're very hypersensitive. So it's almost you're walking on eggshells. So this means that this person will avoid relationship unless they know that they are going to be accepted. Unless they know that they're accepted. This person doesn't want to make new friends. This person is not interested in other people. They are content with the people they know will not hurt them. They believe that they're very socially unskilled. They believe that they're socially unskilled. They don't have the ability to acquire what is needed to thrive in this world. Imagine living that way. They feel they're not competent enough. They don't feel that they matter. They don't feel that they are enough. They don't have the sense of balance that we carry, that you're supposed to carry. They imagine that people are criticizing them constantly. Even when they're in their safe zones, they believe that they're being criticized. Somebody is saying something about them. They believe that even the most benign comments, has to do with them. Somebody's trying to wound them. Somebody's trying to hurt them. They will usually pull back. Before you reject them, they will pull back. They fear humiliation more than anything. This is a person that talks about respect all the time. This is a person that feels like, that says things like, you're not hearing me, you're not seeing me, you don't love me enough. This is a person that they desire connection, but they're afraid of it. They're afraid of it. So imagine, so I try to just, make this, personalize this a little bit with just using stories. So imagine, we'll call her Tara. So Tara gets invited to a gathering, for example. All right. And she wants to go. She wants to go. She plans to go. She picks out her outfit. She even, rehearses the conversation. This is what I'm going to say. This is how it's going to go. She's spent a lot of time picking out clothes. She's changed like 20 times. She understands that, okay, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. All right. So Tara, a few minutes before leaving, just right before she gets there, she's going to imagine everyone staring at her. She's going to imagine that, she's boring. She's going to imagine herself as being awkward. She's going to imagine that she's not enough. The fear of locked doors. She's going to imagine that people are looking at her. Her outfit is not sufficient. She is imagining all of this. Tara eventually will send a text to say that she's not coming. That's the life. She will say she's not coming. Well, Tara, why didn't you come? Tara, we were waiting for you. Why didn't you show up? Oh, I just wasn't feeling up to it. Or they'll make up an excuse. They will tell you they're going to come, and they plan to come, but they eventually will not, because they don't feel sufficient enough to be able to have the spotlight on them or show up to your party. How about how does Tara show up in the workplace? What would that look like in the workplace? In the workplace, Tara can have strong skills at work. Tara could be a manager, a supervisor, or whatever. But Tara doesn't want to be seen. In fact, if they try to promote Tara, there's going to be an issue. She doesn't want it. She wants to be that employee that is there. You can push Tara into glory, into a higher position because she's skilled, but she's going to imagine that she's going to mess up. She's going to imagine that she's going to be criticized. She's going to imagine that, people are going to notice her flaws. She doesn't belong there. So she would rather sit in her office and sit quietly and do her work and decline any offers. That's all she wants. Do my job and leave. Do my job and leave. That is what Tara would. Avoidant personality disorder. The base word there is avoidance, right? Avoiding. And so to avoid this, I don't want to complicate my life. I don't want anything that would put the spotlight on me. I don't want anything that would make me the center of attention, even if it means getting promoted at work. How will Tara show up in her relationship? If Tara has a relationship, how will she show up in a relationship? So let's say Tara meets somebody that she likes. Tara meets somebody that she likes, and she wants to go out with this person. She wants to be with this person, right? And she rewrites responses. Okay, so I see, I'm new to this TikTok live, and I see people saying they want to join. I'm not sure what that is about, so I'm going to figure it out. And so she rewrites response. She's going to rethink every message that she sends. She's going to rewrite the responses constantly. She will rewrite one message 20,000 times before she sends it. She doesn't want to sound foolish. She doesn't want to sound like she doesn't know what she's doing. If that person is showing interest in her, she will pull away because she assumes that they're going to leave anyway. They're going to leave when they discover the real her. They're going to leave when they discover the real her. So Tara ends up alone sometimes. A lot of the time, that door stays locked. She might venture out sometimes, but then she will sabotage it in her own way because she doesn't feel like she is enough for that other person. That can be quite debilitating, don't you think? Very debilitating. And if you happen to have Tara in your class, I'm a professor. If you happen to have Tara in your class, Tara knows the answer, but Tara will never raise her hand in class. All right. If you're asking for volunteers, not going to happen. All right. Because Tara fears that, she's going to mess up, even though she knows the answer. And potentially that door also stays locked. So she just comes to class. She probably will get her A's, and that will be it. All right. You're not going to know who she is. You're not really going to know her. That's what avoidant personality looks like. Tara is not being disrespectful. It's just fearful. Tara is just fearful. And just like the other personality types, avoidant personality begins early in the developmental stages, right? These are children who have faced very frequent criticisms. These are caretakers who are constantly abusing their children. They are being ridiculed. They are being set aside, put down, nagging. Oh, wow. Just the stuff that happens in childhood, man, right? These are people who are caregivers who have neglected them, who have rejected them, who have abandoned them. They could not depend on their caregiver. Or they could have high expectations with very little emotional contact. What we do to our children, huh? Or what we do to children when they're supposed to be forming life patterns, end up destroying them or limiting them or fracturing them. The thing, though, is the good news in all of this is the brain's plasticity, that we can relearn things, that we can relearn, that the brain can form other pathways. When you grow up in shaming environments where your mistakes are being punished, when you grow up in environments when you're not enough, when you grow up in environment, maybe there's favoritism, maybe one child is the golden child and you are just not enough. You learn very early on that you don't measure up. You learn very early on that nothing you do matters. When you grow up in an environment where there's emotional distancing, when you're punished by withdrawing emotions, when you grow up in this kind of environment, you then begin to believe that there's something wrong with you. Why doesn't my father love me? Why doesn't my mother love me? Why is this care? What have I done? What is wrong with me? And then as a child, that becomes the replay. That becomes a replay tune in your mind. Constantly. I'm not enough. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And then you're supposed to grow up and become an adult and know everything to do. And no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So these patterns are woven in constantly all through your life. And then the child has learned to survive by saying those words to themselves, by saying that, I am not enough, or if I stay small, I won't be hurt. If I stay invisible, they won't see me. If I stay invisible, they won't hurt me. If I stay small enough, if I shrink myself enough, then I will not be rejected. If I shrink myself enough, then I will not be abandoned. That's what the child is saying to themselves. They're constantly saying, if I avoid risk, then I won't be rejected. If I stay still, then, well, nobody can even notice me. If I stay quiet, then I will not be judged. These are core beliefs. These are core beliefs that you hold all through childhood. And that pattern then becomes your identity. That pattern then becomes your identity. So, I've been trying to take a look at this personality disorders from a very compassionate lens, because a lot of the times we talk about them as if they're horrible people. Oh my God, that's a narcissist. So that one is a borderline personality. Oh my God, they just hurt people. They can't change. We're taking a look at these personalities through a very compassionate lens and a very factual, real lens too, just to understand where this is, what's happening. So the avoidant personality, let's look at some myths. Oh, they're shy. The shyness for the avoidant is very temporary. It's not that they're shy. It's a deep fear that has shaped their identity and their behavior. It's not about being shy. It's about not being enough. Another myth is they don't like people. They just want to be by themselves. No, they crave connection. They want to be connected. But they fear that they're going to be abandoned, they're going to be rejected, they fear that you're going to leave them anyway. So they stay away. Another myth is, oh my God, that person, we've been using Tara, for example. Tara just lacks confidence. Come on, girl, be a boss woman, get up, do this. No, that's not it. Tara has some strong abilities. Avoidant personality has strong abilities. They're smart. They can't. There's nothing preventing them from understanding and knowing things like the rest of the world. No, but their self-image is so distorted by fear that they don't want to build on their talents. They don't want to develop their talents because of a distorted sense of self. Does that make sense? Then another myth is they are uninterested in romantic love or friendship. No, they want to be close. They want to be loved. But they just assume that you're going to judge them just like their caregiver judged them. You're going to say they're not enough just like mom said they weren't enough. You're going to say they're not enough just like that person told them they weren't enough. And they're just tired of being hurt, so they just keep to themselves. Another myth that runs, and this is very common for personality disorders, is they cannot change. No, that's not true. Avoidant personality disorder can improve with support, with therapy, consistent care. They can improve just like anyone else. They can improve. And so if you are loving somebody who has avoidant personality disorder, or that person is you, this is what your relationship looks like. You're constantly replaying in your mind everything that you said. You're constantly replaying, what should I have said that? Maybe that was wrong. I should have said something else. You're constantly replaying every single thing, and your mind never quiets down. Your mind not doesn't quiet down because I should have said this. I should have said that. I shouldn't. Didn't say all that right well, quite well. And so you're going to pull back when somebody gets close. At work, you're going to avoid leadership roles. Like I said, with our story of Tara, right? You're going to avoid leadership roles because you don't want to be criticized. In friendships, you're going to assume that people are going to lose interest in you. You're going to assume that when they find out who you are, they're not going to like you. Your inner life, you're constantly criticizing yourself all throughout the day. You're criticizing your own worst critic. If somebody is during social moments, if there's silence, you're going to think that that's rejection. If somebody doesn't return your call, within the time frame that you think they should, you would think that that's abandonment. If somebody doesn't respond to your text right away, you would think that that is rejection. So we need to change this. There's a way to change this. Healing is going to focus on your self-worth, that you are worthy. No matter what the primary caregiver has done, no matter what what your parent have said to you, no matter who said what, your coach, your this, whoever said it to you. And if it was easy to change like that, everybody would have changed. So this has to be consistent. This has to be nurturing. You have to give it time, but you can be better. You can do better. You can move forward with life. You can engage in life. You can become who you want to be. It would be something else if you didn't want connection, but you do want it. So we do the work. At the end of the 10 days, we're hosting a healing workshop. I hope you join me. It is at the end of the 10 days, just write join healing. So I know that you're interested. I will send you the link. It doesn't mean that you're then all of a sudden you're not going to fear anymore. Healing doesn't mean that you're not going to have those feelings anymore. Healing just means that you begin to walk forward into connection. You begin to walk into the life that you want. Does this make sense? So the locked doors, you're going to walk through them, even though you have trepidations. And you'll find out that the world is more benign than it is malignant. That there are people who just want to be your friend. There are people who just see you. There are people who are willing to walk this life with you. That you don't have to be alone. So to all my avoidant personality types out there, let today be your day that you decide, you know what? I'm going to move forward. Just take one step. Look at the fear and talk to the fear and say to fear, we are such intimate friends, but I'm just going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to take one step. I'm going to go to lunch with that person. I'm going to go to Starbucks with that person. I'm going to do something with that person today, or even by yourself. I'm going to go out of the house. Just take one step. And you will find out that there is such a big world out there. And there are more of us who want to love and care than those who want to hate and reject. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll move on to our dependent personality type. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me. This has been, a time for me when I talk about this, because I feel for people who have to live life like this. Nobody should do that. Nobody has to do that. Not if you feel like I want to connect, then you should be able to connect. Bye, everyone. See you next time. All right. See you next time. I'm going to end this now. Bye, everyone.